Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video that I have for you. And in today's video, I will be sharing with you my own personal Oscar nominations. Now, like some of you, I was also disappointed with the nominations from the 92nd Academy Awards. I thought that it was really unfair that they snubbed so many movies for certain categories that I thought definitely deserved it, especially movies from A24. So I decided to make my own personal Oscar nominations, what I think should have been nominated at the 92nd Academy Awards. Now, before we proceed, I'd like to tell you a few things. First of all, this is my subjective list. What you think should be nominated is going to be different than what I think should be nominated, so please don't yell at me or call me names in the comments. Second, uh, I did not nominate performances and films that I have not seen, so you're not going to see as much as I love Cynthia Erivo, you're not going to see her nominated for Harriet in my nominations, or if I actually see the movie and if I think she's deserving of Best Actress, I'll change my nominations. But for now, you're not going to see her or anyone from Bombshell, which I have not seen yet, or Renee Zellweger from Judy. And I know she's been getting nominated a lot, but I'm not happy about that because she may be good in Judy, but I don't like her as a person. And also, uh, I decided, in addition to my own personal Oscar nominees, I also made up my own personal Razzie nominations for the Golden Raspberry Awards. In case if you don't know, the Golden Raspberry Awards is the opposite of the Oscars because they give awards out to what is the worst movies of each year. And I also decided to list off in this PowerPoint presentation my biggest surprise of 2019, my biggest disappointment of 2019, and my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2020. So I'm only going to verbally name off my Oscar nominees. So if you want to see my Razzie nominees or my biggest surprising movie of 2019, biggest disappointment movie of 2019, or most anticipated movies of 2020, then I will include a link to the PowerPoint presentation that I have in the description below. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started with what I think should have been nominated for Best Visual Effects. Now, my nominations aren't really that much different than the Oscars. Like the Oscars, I nominated 1917, Endgame, Lion King, which to me is not an animated movie at all. I thought it was dumb that the Golden Globes nominated it for animated film, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. But unlike the Oscars, which gave a visual effects nomination to The Irishman, I personally thought that don't get me wrong, the de-aging effects in Irishman were impressive, but I personally thought that the effects in Ad Astra were more impressive. Now, I know some people in my personal life who did not like Ad Astra, and I totally understand why. It is a very slow-paced movie, very artsy type of film, but what you can't deny and what they can't deny is that the effects visually looked very impressive. However, I would give the award to Endgame, and I will confess that this is mostly an award out of pity because I knew, as much as I love Endgame, as much as I would have wished to see it nominated for Best Picture, I knew at the bottom of my heart that if Endgame were to be nominated for Oscars, that it would only be nominated for visual effects. So, Endgame, here you go. Alright, moving on to Best Sound Design. We have 1917, Ford v Ferrari, Joker, Rocketman, and Star Wars. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining myself here. These are just the films I thought sounded the best. Oh, and also, unlike the Oscars, I'm not going to do two separate categories for sound editing and sound mixing. I'm just going to do one. I personally thought that 1917 had the best sound design. It sounded the best to me. Alright, moving on to Best Makeup. Now, like I said before, I have not seen Bombshell. However, based on the trailer alone, and I will admit I am cheating a little, but based on the trailer alone, I thought that the makeup for Bombshell, how they were able to make Charlize Theron and John Lithgow look like Roger Ailes and Megyn Kelly, was impressive. I also nominated Joker and Rocketman. I actually was really annoyed that they nominated 1917 for makeup instead of Rocketman. Like 1917, like why would you nominate that for makeup? And Rocketman, come on. But I would give the award to Bombshell because I mean, it's obvious. All right, moving on to Best Production Design. I have nominated, like the Oscars, I have nominated Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, Irishman, and 1917. Now, the Oscars did nominate Jojo Rabbit, and I thought that the sets for Jojo Rabbit were really impressive, and I almost nominated Little Women. I decided that I thought that the sets in Little Women were more impressive than Jojo Rabbit, but then at the last minute, I decided instead of Little Women or Jojo Rabbit to nominate for production design Endgame. And I'm also going to give the award to Endgame because, yeah, I mean, 90% of the movie is CGI, but I still thought that it was really impressive how they were able to like blend all these worlds together, and how the Russos and the production designers and the set decorators and everyone who worked on the crew were able to have all these different worlds cohesively together in the movie, and make us, or at least me personally, feel like I was actually there back in New York in 2012, or Volmir, whatever the planet is where they get the Soul Stone. So this is also kind of a pity Oscar. So like visual effects, I would give this award to Endgame for production design. All right, moving on to best costume design. Like the Oscars, I nominated The Irishman, Little Women, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. However, I strongly disagree with them nominating Jojo Rabbit and Joker. Like there was like Joker especially baffles me. Like there was only one costume that was impressive from Joker, and that was the Joker costume itself. And I guess I could understand why they would nominate Jojo Rabbit, but personally, I thought that the costumes from Rocket Man and Dolomite Is My Name were much, much, much more impressive. And I actually give the award to Dolomite Is My Name. Alright, moving on to Best Editing. So, like the Oscars, I nominated Irishman, Ford v Ferrari, and Parasite. And and in case you don't remember from my video yesterday, I was so nervous that the Oscars would not nominate Parasite for editing, and I was so thankful that they did. I disagree though with them again with costume design. I disagree with them nominating Jojo Rabbit and Joker for editing. I didn't think that Joker or Jojo Rabbit were poorly edited, but at the same time, I didn't think that the editing in either one of those movies were really impressive. So instead of Jojo Rabbit, I would have nominated Uncut Gems, which, by the way, it's really annoying that Uncut Gems and A24 in general did not get much love this year at the Oscars. That really annoys me a lot. So instead of Jojo Rabbit, Uncut Gems, I thought the editing in that movie was really impressive. And instead of Joker, I would have nominated 1917, which I actually think should win, in my opinion, the award for best film editing. I mean the editing isn't super like stylish or noticeable in that movie because it is edited to look like it's all filmed in one shot. But actually, to me, that's what makes the editing even more impressive. The fact that Lee Smith was able to so seamlessly craft this movie and with the help of Roger Deakins as well, to make it look like it was all filmed in one take. Well, technically, two takes. Moving on to Best Cinematography. Speaking of Roger Deakins, I nominated, like the Oscars, 1917, The Irishman, Joker, and The Lighthouse. The A24 did get a bit of love with nominating The Lighthouse for Best Cinematography, and as excited as I am for that, personally, I think that The Lighthouse should have gotten more nominations, but we'll get to that later. And the Oscars nominated Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for cinematography, and I thought that that film looked pretty good. But personally, I thought that the cinematography from Shadow was a bit more impressive. I would have nominated Shadow for cinematography because I was really impressed by that film a lot. And I thought that that film, directed by Zhang Yimou, sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, looked beautiful. But I would give the award to Roger Deakins for 1917. All right, moving on to Best Original Song. Glasgow, No Place Like Home from Wild Rose, I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man, Into the Unknown, Frozen 2, Speechless, Aladdin, and Stand Up, Harriet. Now, again, like Bombshell, I'm kind of cheating here. I did look up the song on YouTube for Stand Up from Harriet, and I thought it was a really good song. But personally, I still can't get Into the Unknown out of my head, so I'm gonna give the award to Frozen 2. All right, best original score. This was a tough one, to be honest, because there were so many amazing scores this year. But personally, what I thought were the most impressive scores of the year were from 1917, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, and Us. I did not nominate Star Wars. I thought that the score from Rise of Skywalker was good, but I don't know. It didn't like wow me. Unlike the scores from Us, Marriage Story, Little Women, Joker in 1917, I almost decided to give the award to Joker. And as much as I love Hildur Guðnadóttir, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm going to give this award to Marriage Story. Now, I did see a complaint online saying that the score did not mesh well with the tone of what Noah Baumbach was going for with the movie, and I completely disagree. I thought that it fitted really well, so Marriage Story for me gets the award for best score. All right, moving on to best documentary. I have nominated Amazing Grace, Apollo 11, Honeyland, Knock Down the House, and Love Antosha. Now, the actual Oscars nominated for documentary for Sama and American Factory, two documentaries that I actually do really want to see, but haven't been able to yet. I definitely will check them both out as soon as I get the chance. American Factory on Netflix. I did nominate the Netflix documentary Knock Down the House, though. I was really impressed by that one. And like the Oscars, I nominated Honeylands. I did not think that Honeylands would be nominated for documentary or foreign film, as you'll see later, at all, but it was, and I'm really happy about that. So I was most impressed by the documentary Love Antosha, which is the documentary about Anton Yelchin, who passed away way too soon. All right, moving on to best foreign film. For foreign film, I nominate Birds of Passage, Pain of Glory, which I only just saw like a couple of nights ago, Parasite, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and Honeyland. So the obvious winner that I think should be nominated is what you call it, Parasite. Parasite is my favorite movie of the year. I thought I did. I heard really good things about Les Miserables, and I'm sure that it's a great film. And which, by the way, Les Miserables, which the Oscars nominated, is not based on the musical or the Victor Hugo book. It is an original story, French film that deals with police brutality, a very unfortunate and dark subject matter. Um, and I really want to see Les Miserables. Like, I think it's dumb just in general that each country is only allowed to submit one film for foreign film because I think that both Les Miserables and Portrait of a Lady on Fire, even though they're both French films, why can't France submit them both? Like, why can't they both be nominated? I mean, the Golden Globes did that, so I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Pain and Glory was really good. Love Birds of Passage and Honeyland. But for me, the obvious winner is, and the one that will win at the actual Oscars, is Parasite. All right, moving on to Best Comedy Film. Now, I'm not going to be giving this award to the film that I think is the best out of all of these, but I'm going to be giving this award to the film that I thought was the funniest. So for Best Comedy Film, I have Booksmart, Greener Grass, Knives Out, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Toy Story 4. Now, actually, I'm giving this award to the film that I think is the weakest out of all these movies, but I do think that this film is the funniest, and that is Greener Grass. Greener Grass had me cracking up basically throughout the entire runtime. It's so weird and kooky and strange, and I loved it. It's definitely a film not for everyone. Some might be absolutely repulsed by it, but I thought it was great, so I recommend it. All right, moving on to Best Animated Film. I was really happy when the Oscars nominated Klaus, and even I Lost My Body. Netflix has got quite a bit of love at the Oscars. I didn't love I Lost My Body. I appreciated it, but I did have some issues with the main character being kind of stalkerish. But Klaus I loved, and also like the Oscars, I nominated Missing Link, How to Train Your Dragon 3, and Toy Story 4. I would have also nominated Penguin Highway. I thought that was a really cute and excellent anime film, but I would give the award to Toy Story 4. Best Adapted Screenplay. So, like the Oscars, I nominate Jojo Rabbit, The Irishman, Little Women, and The Two Popes. I thought that the writing for all these movies were excellent. Unlike the Oscars, though, which nominated Joker, I thought that the writing for Joker was just okay. I wasn't super impressed by it. What did impress me for Joker was the directing and Joaquin Phoenix's performance and score and the cinematography. But the writing I thought was just eh. I almost nominated, instead of Joker, I almost nominated A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but I decided that I was more impressed by the writing from Endgame. Now, dialogue wise, there isn't anything impressive in Endgame. However, structure in terms of how the film is structured, I was really impressed that each act feels distinct, and yet at the same time it all blends together really well. And I really liked how the Russos and also Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were able to pay homages to the previous MCU films in very clever ways. And I really liked where the how the film began and how the film ended, with Tony Stark snapping and saying the famous line, I am Iron Man. So, but I think I would give this award to Little Women. And this is also kind of as I thought that the writing was great in Little Women, but this is also kind of a pity Oscar, a pity award because Greta Gerwig and no women directors at all were nominated for Best Director, which I think is absolutely appalling. So Greta Gerwig, here's your Oscar. Best Original Screenplay. I almost said score. Best Original Screenplay. Now, I nominated, like the Oscars, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Now, I thought I was a bit appalled, not appalled, but I did not agree with them nominating 1917 for original screenplay at all. Not that the writing in that movie was bad, but I didn't think there was anything spectacular about it. Knives Out, I was happy to see Knives Out be nominated, but personally, over 1917 and Knives Out, and this does kind of hurt me a little, I would have nominated The Farewell, Lulu Wang. I thought her script was great, and The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse definitely has some of the kookiest and also kind of darkly hilarious writing that I've heard this year. But the award, what film I think is most worthy of winning this award is Marriage Story. I thought that Marriage Story is not just the best original screenplay of the year, but the best screenplay, period. Moving on to Best Young Actor or Actress. This is also a category that the Oscars do not award to. I think that they should, though. I think that, like the Critics' Choice Movie Awards, that the Oscars should give out awards to child actors and actresses because there are some really good ones. Now, I really want to put Noah Jupe from Honey Boy on here, but I have not seen Honey Boy yet, which is really killing me because I really want to, but I have not seen Honey Boy yet, so Honey Boy's not on here. What is on here, though, is Julia Butters' performance from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Kylie Curran's performance from Doctor Sleep, which I think, like, no one's talking about her, which is really annoying me. I didn't like Doctor Sleep that much, but I thought that Kylie Curran, who played Abra Stone, the main little girl in that movie, she was so good, and I think people should be talking about her more. I would have also nominated Roman Griffin Davis from Jojo Rabbit, Thomasin McKenzie from Jojo Rabbit, and Archie Yates from Jojo Rabbit. Every time Thomasin McKenzie and Scarlett Johansson were on screen in Jojo Rabbit, the film got significantly better. But personally, which child actor I thought gave the best performance is Roman Griffin Davis. As much as I loved Thomasin McKenzie and Scarlett Johansson, if he was bad, the film would have not worked. So Roman Griffin Davis, yeah, he was phenomenal. All right, moving on to another category that the Oscars do not give out awards to, and that is Best Acting Ensemble. I have The Irishman, Little Women, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. I easily will give this one to Irishman. I thought that overall, as an acting ensemble, Irishman impressed me the most. And moving on to Best Supporting Actress, we have Kathy Bates and Richard Jewell, Laura Dern in Marriage Story, Scarlett Johansson in Jojo Rabbit. Again, every time ScarJo is on screen in Jojo Rabbit, the film got better for me. Florence Pugh in Little Women. Florence Pugh as Amy. was such a delight. And Xiao Zhen, sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, from The Farewell. The fact that Zhao was not nominated and Aquafina was not nominated at all for The Farewell really annoyed me a lot. I thought both of them were absolutely spectacular. It was nice to see Dern, Johansson, and Pugh win the being nominated though. And I know that some people online were upset that Jennifer Lopez was nominated for Hustlers. Jennifer Lopez, I thought she was pretty good in Hustlers, and she was definitely the best part of that movie, and she's what made the film work. But I didn't think that she was Oscar worthy. So, and Kathy Bates, me nominating Kathy Bates, I will confess that is mostly just by default because I honestly couldn't think of anyone else to nominate. Although Kathy Bates was good in Richard Jewell, probably the one who gave the best performance besides Paul Walter Hauser. But like all the other award shows, I would give this to Laura Dern in Marriage Story. I really liked her character a lot, actually, in Marriage Story, and I thought she herself was really good. All right, moving on to Best Supporting Actor. We have Anthony Hopkins in The Two Popes, Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, Willem Dafoe not being nominated for the Oscars really upset me a lot. Al Pacino in The Irishman, Joe Pesci in The Irishman, and Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The actual Oscars nominated Tom Hanks from A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and I thought that Tom Hanks was really good. He doesn't really look or sound like Fred Rogers, but I still thought that he played the role really well. However, just Willem, man, just Willem was so good in The Lighthouse, and I would actually give this award to Willem himself. And don't worry, Willem, I like your cooking. All right, moving on to Best Actress, we have Aquafina in The Farewell, Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story, Lupita Nyong'o in Us, Florence Pugh in Midsommar, and Saoirse Ronan from Little Women. I again I haven't seen Harriet or Judy, so I'm not nominating Cynthia Erivo or Renee Zellweger, which I'm kind of fine with not nominating Renee because I don't like her as a person, and her Golden Globe speech was so petty and rude. I do wish that the actual Oscars nominated Aquafina, and I thought Pugh and Nyong'o were also snubbed. But I personally would give this award to ScarJo in Marriage Story. That one when she's meeting with Laura Dern's character for the first time, and that speech that she gives about like being constricted, held back creatively because of her husband. I thought that that whole speech was phenomenal, and of course the argument scene. And speaking of Marriage Story, we move on to Best Actor, Adam Driver in Marriage Story, Antonio Banderas in Pain and Glory, Leonardo DiCaprio, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, and Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler being snubbed really upset me a lot. And I don't get me wrong, I thought that Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes, which the Oscars actually nominated, I thought Jonathan Pryce was really good, but come on. I mean, Sandler deserves a break. I mean, come on. People are still bashing on him, and he actually can be a really good actor. So Sandler deserves a break. It really killed me not to include on here Robert De Niro from The Irishman or Robert Pattinson from The Lighthouse, who I both of them were phenomenal in my opinion. But I just really appreciated Banderas. His performance is very subtle, and yet it really worked for me. DiCaprio was great. Joaquin, of course. Joaquin's gonna win the actual Oscar, but if I were in charge of the Oscars, I would give this to Adam Driver. All right, moving on to Best Director. So, like the Oscars, I've nominated Scorsese for The Irishman and Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Now, the actual Oscars nominated Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was well directed. Sam Mendes for 1917. Again, 1917 was well directed, so I'm not too upset about that. But nominating Todd Phillips for Joker. Now, Todd Phillips, he did a good job, I thought, with directing Joker. However, I do not think that Joker deserves a Best Director or Best Picture nomination because I think that that film just has a little too much problems, and I think that there are other films that are more deserving of Best Director or Best Picture. So I know that there are some people that love Joker, they're happy about that, but there are also a lot of more people who, like me, preferred if someone else was nominated instead of Todd Phillips. Now, this might surprise you. A lot of people were upset that Greta Gerwig wasn't nominated for Little Women, and as well directed as Little Women was, I would personally nominate for female director instead of Little Greta Gerwig, Celine Sciamma. And I'm mostly doing this because I already nominated Greta Gerwig for adapted screenplay for Little Women, and I'm really not hearing much buzz about Celine Sciamma at all, even though I think that Greta Gerwig directed Little Women really well, but Celine Sciamma, like I'm not hearing much buzz about her that I think that she deserves, so I nominated Celine Sciamma and also the Safdies for Uncut Gems. And also Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story. I was really annoyed by that. But Marriage Story was so well directed, but personally, I would give this award to Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. What a surprise there. Alright, so Best Picture. So unlike the Oscars, I only nominated 5 films for Best Picture. So initially I was going to do 10, but then I started getting upset because I was purposely snubbing other films that I also really loved. Like when I had my 10 nominations, I did not include Endgame, and I was upset, so I decided to also include Endgame, and then I increased it to 15, and then 20, and then 30, and then I was like, you know what, this is just getting ridiculous, and so I'm purposely being a little bit harsh and snubbing a lot of films that I love. It kind of hurts me to snub The Farewell, The Souvenir, and Endgame, but these are the 5 films that I decided to nominate for Best Picture. So I have nominated The Irishman, Little Women, Marriage Story, Parasite, and Uncut Gems. Can you guess which film I would have nominated for Best Picture? I mean, I already told you guys what my favorite film of the year is, Parasite. Parasite just impressed me on so many levels, and I love that movie so much. I think that even though it made a decent amount of money in America, I still think it could have made more. And yeah, Parasite for me wins Best Picture, and does kind of hurt me a little that I snubbed that I only did 5 nominees, but I also didn't want to do like 30 nominees, even though there are like more than 30 films this year and from 2019 that I loved. All right, so those are my personal Oscar nominations. Those are the films that I think for each perspective category that I think was deserving of a nomination. Do you agree or disagree? Please let me know in the comments down below. And again, this was my subjective list. Yours is going to be different. But I am really curious to hear what you guys think were snubbed. Like I know that people really wanted Eddie Murphy or Taron Egerton to be nominated for Best Actor, and I thought that they were really good, but not quite for me like top 5 good, like maybe like top 10. So yeah, and again, if you want to see what my Razzie nominations are, or my most surprising movie of 2019, or my biggest disappointment of 2019, or my most anticipated movies of 2020, look in the description below, and you can check out my slideshow. All right, so again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope to see you guys soon. I'm hoping to get my podcast started up soon, so hopefully you'll get that soon. All right. Bye.